The Assassin's Creed series had been deteriorating for a while now. The characters were less and less likable, the settings were boring, and the gameplay was as repetitive as ever. I was actually not sure if I wanted to play this game at all and postponed it for the longest time. Then I found out that they had changed the game significantly and my interest returned. As the game started, I immediately noticed that there were some kind of problems with the sound. I was not hearing any of the voices, just the special effects. I checked my settings, etc., and nothing seemed off, so I went online to inform myself, and it turns out that this is a bug which has existed since the game had been released 3 months ago. Apparently it does not like any audio configuration that is different from stereo, so 5.1, 7.1, etc. You have to switch to stereo only and then everything runs perfectly. It seems strange to me that Ubisoft have simply ignored this problem and never fixed it. After I made that change, the game seemed to run normally and I could finally start playing it. Right from the start, several things made a very strong impression on me. First and foremost, the graphics. I don't know if it's the fact that the game simply looks great or the ancient Egyptian setting being so fascinating, but I love the visuals almost immediately. The game is gorgeous, but that all comes at a high price, namely the fact that it's a very hardware-hungry game. You will also notice almost immediately that it features a brand new combat system, one that requires a lot more attention from the player. This changes the gameplay significantly and makes it so much more fun. You can now parry, counterattack, charge attacks, and have multiple fighting styles depending on the weapons used, as well as have special adrenaline skills. Assassin's Creed is no longer stealth focused only. Now simply playing as a brawler is actually an option which will appeal greatly to people who do not enjoy stealth as much as I do. Since it's a full-blown RPG now, it comes with all the things we know and love, such as levels, skills, and items. At times it was clear to me that The Witcher 3 was one of its strongest inspirations here, as there are moments which remind me so heavily of it that it almost triggered flashbacks. Just thinking about how I'm on a boat sailing towards a place indicated by a question mark on my minimap and then diving to discover a chest underwater with an item in it brings memories of Geralt and the Skellige Islands. However, Ubisoft have inspired themselves from many games, most of which their own ones. As you fight in the arena, you will meet several bosses there which seem to be direct copies of playable characters from the fighting game For Honor. The whole system of eliminating a smaller story boss in order to gain access to the next one in the hierarchy reminds me of Ghost Recon Wildlands, and there are many similarities to other games as well. Make no mistake, I'm not criticizing this. If anything, it is one of the reasons why I found my 45 hours with this game so enjoyable. One of my biggest problems with the series was that I did not like any of the characters besides Ezio. Some of them I disliked so much that it broke the immersion for me completely. Connor, for example, was the worst Assassin's Creed character I can think of. This is something I was afraid of and can say with great relief that Bayek of Siwa is probably the best protagonist in any Assassin's Creed game up to date. His story is a good one and he seems driven by his quest for revenge much more than others. Besides that, he's a Magi, a protector of the people. He does what he thinks is right, but not to a degree that makes him seem soft or gullible like some other lawful good characters. In fact, I would go as far as to say that his judgment can sometimes be quite extreme. Due to the setting of the game and the time in which it takes place, religiosity is one of the driving forces of life. People believe in gods, in godly creatures, etc. Bayek is such a godly man and his belief is unquestionable, so much in fact that he will kill people simply because they skinned a crocodile, which is a godly creature and not to be touched, or desecrated a gravesite. These punishments would normally seem excessive to me, but here it all somehow fits perfectly. I've enjoyed playing as Bayek and considered him without a doubt the most believable and likable character in the series so far. Ancient Egypt is also clearly the best setting in which the series has ventured. The pyramids, the Roman and Greek architecture, everything fits. This is where I want to praise Ubisoft for the variety of environments, from swamps to the open desert, then to the mountain areas. Not only is the map huge and practically begs to be explored, but it also offers diverse and interesting places to see. At one point I found myself thinking how much work must have gone into making this map, as I'm certain that it was made by many people. Nothing in it seems strange or out of place. There's a lot of love for detail here too. One of my favorite things are the hallucinations in the desert. The great soundtrack only added to my enjoyment. Personally, I've always felt like the further the Assassin's Creed games go in the past, the better they get. The weapons as well as the armor just feel much better. I prefer bows over guns in these games. There are however also a few Easter eggs in the game. One of the strangest ones was the inclusion of a quest which introduces a character from a Final Fantasy game and leaves you a steampunk sword, a shield and a chocobo like camel. For my viewers who don't know what a chocobo is, it's something from a Final Fantasy game. Chocobos are large chicken-like creatures which you ride around as mounts. The climbing has also been improved greatly, making it more seamless and less complicated, but also a lot less frustrating. I can remember only 3 times when my character did something that I did not really want him to do, and only one of these got me killed. This is a huge improvement over the older games. The game features a huge selection of side quests which make exploring places a lot more fun. The quality of those has been improved greatly. Gone are the stupid ones that force you to hide and follow someone while eavesdropping on them. There are still a lot of quests that ask you to go to a location and free a prisoner, then escort or carry him out of the danger zone. Still, these are a lot more fun than the aforementioned ones and don't really bother me. The game makes for a good RPG. It offers different drops with varying quality, it rewards the player with golden items quite frequently, and offers many comfort functions. The items can be upgraded at any blacksmith for a fair price, which will automatically scale them to your level. That way you can always keep the nice items you have found before and scale them up to your level. The game also offers you the option to auto-run, which will make Bayek run forward, or if on a mount, simply follow a road or even navigate to the next objective, something we have seen in other Ubisoft games as well. Whenever you end up in water, the game will conveniently spawn a boat close to you and even make it come even closer to you so that you never have to waste time swimming slowly. Naturally, you can also fast travel to any discovered location that you have synchronized with. The game also offers you a setting which will scale all low level enemies to always be around your level so that you never feel bored fighting weaklings. Higher level enemies, however, will not be affected by this. This is also where one of my biggest complaints come. The game has a system in which enemies whose level is significantly higher than yours will be nearly impossible to kill due to the fact that you get huge penalties to your damage and defense stats while fighting these enemies. You will do almost no damage and die in 1 to 2 hits if unlucky. My problem with this is that I have been presented with this huge, interesting world, and it appears to be open and available for me to explore, but there are regions on which the quests are nearly impossible to do unless you have leveled up, and the enemies are nearly impossible to kill. This effectively forces you to still play the game in a specific order and limits your exploration. I would have been more forgiving if there were no quests very early on which require you to travel to such high level locations and either dispatch enemies or do something else. There are a few things that I hate more than having active quests in my quest log, which I simply cannot do and have to ignore for the next 5 to 10 hours before I've leveled up and being able to actually finish them. One such quest requires you to hunt down 10 assassins who are sent out to hunt you down. The game even throws the first one at your level so that you can take him out. He's a good fighter and actually a very challenging and interesting opponent. Then the others are all marked with huge red symbols on the map indicating their locations. I am hooked, but suddenly realize that I cannot do the quest due to my super low level. This is where a less stubborn player would have moved on, but I was not going to give up easily. Needless to say that you can still kill them, but it's neither fun nor is it meant to be done this way. Not to mention that this applies to everything, including the wildlife. Nothing is more lame than an assassin fighting a bird for half an hour and being killed by said bird in one hit, while the slashes with his sword do little to no damage to that bird. Last point regarding leveling that I wish to make is that it does change the dynamic of the game and makes it feel a lot less like an Assassin's Creed game based on how it affects stealth. When attacking a strong enemy out of stealth, you will not be able to kill that enemy. All you get is a critical strike on him, causing very significant damage but not actually neutralizing the target. This can sometimes be very frustrating if you enjoy playing purely in stealth mode. The only way to make this occur less often is by lowering the difficulty of the game. I had to cheese my way to victory over the high level enemies of the aforementioned quest, but I did it and I got a very cool outfit for it, so it kind of makes up for it. Speaking of outfits, this is the time I should address the helix points. Yes, you can in fact acquire items such as mounts and gear with such points. The game even baits you by giving you 200 helix points early on and then never giving you any again. If you want more, be ready to pay real money for them. Luckily, there is another way to get most of these items. You can gamble at a special vendor for a fairly large amount of in-game currency and will almost always get something nice. That's how I got my burning horse and several other excellent items. This is also why I am okay with this. And let's not forget that this is a single player game after all. I would also like to address the story. Assassin's Creed has always wanted to involve historical figures in their stories. Origins has that too, and I dare say that it has some of the more interesting ones so far. But it also shows us the beginning of the Order of Assassins as well as that of the Templars. Above all, it was very nice to see it all unfold in a subtle way. The words Assassin and Templar will not be heard here, and for the most part it will feel like a very different game. The story of Bayek of Siwa and his transitioning from the last Magi into one of the founders of the Hidden Ones is a story worth listening to. And while the story missions aren't many, there are a ton of other things to do besides the over 100 side quests. You will also get to fight in the arena and race with chariots. There are tombs to be discovered, stars to align, and animals to be hunted. You will not be bored, that much is for sure. The level cap is 40 for the base game and 45 for the DLC. I started the DLC after I had completed every quest in the main game, and so I had been level 40 for a while. The quests in the DLC are designed to give a lot more XP, and while there are not many, you will be able to level up quite quickly there. The first DLC offers a new region and a story which takes place 4 years after the ending of the main game. It is definitely worth playing, and I can already see myself playing the next one as soon as it is released as well. Naturally, there are a few battles at sea as well, for all those who love that part of the game. As you've probably noticed, I'm not hiding my enthusiasm for this game. I've enjoyed it greatly and am even considering replaying it, something that had never been a possibility with a previous Assassin's Creed game. The game is excellent, but it's not perfect. There are bugs that plague the game all over the place. One time the game crashed as I was winning the last race of a racing tournament. This meant that I had to replay the whole tournament again. I did not enjoy that. Various graphical glitches and other weird things happened as well. At one time an important NPC cloned itself after a cutscene, so now there were two of her. Another time I had to meet an NPC to start a quest. He was apparently not where he should normally be. After I spoke to him, he asked me to follow him, and after a few steps just shouted, "Get him, boys." The problem is that nothing happened and he kept walking and I kept following. After 10 minutes of slow walking, I figured that something had gone wrong and reset the quest. This time he was in a different place, far from where he was the first time around, but in the same direction we were going. I assumed that the NPC was still taking me to the right direction, so I followed him, and I was waiting for it to be another one of those walks that would take forever. But it fixed itself, and this time I got attacked by some guys as soon as he screamed, so that was good. Mounts are another thing that can go crazy when let to simply navigate to a waypoint on their own. Especially after I bought myself a chariot, the things got really entertaining. The chariot would occasionally bump against things at the start, going crazy and just jumping around as if I was in the moon and there was no gravity. At one time I got shot in the sky and fell to my death. Sadly I couldn't record it to show you, you're gonna have to believe me. There were bugs, but they came few and far apart altogether when you consider the size of this game. Only the racing bug really annoyed me because I lost some progress because of that and had to replay a few difficult races. Lastly, I wish to complain about two minor things. First, at the beginning of the game you don't have a hidden blade yet. You get it in the second chapter. This would not be an issue if your stealth executions were performed with your normal weapon. However, the game simply makes the character punch the opponents and they drop to the ground, rolling and moaning loudly. The funny thing is that nobody can hear that and your character basically acts as if they are dead. Even in cases where the quest is clear and you have to basically kill everyone in a place, just beating them up appears to be enough. This is how the rest of the game will be as well if you choose to play as a pacifist, which, why the hell would you do that? You're playing an assassin game. My second minor gripe is that there isn't enough gore in the game. I just feel that many of the execution animations should lead to a few cut off limbs and even a decapitation from time to time. This is sadly not the case. The game is clearly designed for a mature audience, so toning down the gore seems like a strange decision to me. There's still quite a bit of it in terms of stabs, etc., but simply not enough for my taste. Lastly, I want to address the sub-story of the game. As with every Assassin's Creed game, this one also is actually happening within the head of someone who is using an animus machine to look into the genetic memories of somebody else. Personally, I have always found this sub-story lame, and while Desmond Miles' version of it was somewhat curious, this one is simply super lame. The character is not likable at all, the progression feels unevenly spaced, and the whole thing is just stupid. I feel like the whole ancient aliens part of it could just have been omitted, but Ubisoft insists, so here we are. Be that as it may, the game is still excellent. Clearly risks were taking this time in hopes of breaking the established chain of mediocrity, and I'm happy to say that the results are excellent. To me, this is without a doubt the best Assassin's Creed game, and I can recommend it to all of my viewers. There's a lot of gameplay for your money here, and more is coming in March with the last DLC. This has been my critical review of Assassin's Creed Origins. Thank you for watching, and let me know what you think of the changes to the franchise. Did you like them? How about Bayek? Is he better than Ezio to you as well? I'm looking forward to reading your comments, and if you enjoy my videos, subscribing and voting them up helps my channel and motivates me greatly, so I'd be grateful if you considered it. Have a great day.